Welcome to the Oxford Community Center podcast. I'm Muffin Whitney, and recently I had the pleasure of sitting down with my friend Barbara Parker to talk about her upcoming cabaret evening at the Oxford Community Center. I'll give you all the details about the performance and tell you how to get tickets at the end of this podcast. But first, let me tell you a little bit about the fascinating Barbara Parker. Barbara was born in Seattle, Washington, and first set foot on the Eastern Shore when she came to Kent County on an archaeological dig with the University of Washington in 1974. She returned to Kent County in 1982 for a planned 2-year stint, but along the way she met her husband, attorney David Parker, and they have since lived happily ever after in the farmlands of Wharton. Barbara spent many years in the corporate world of advertising, but she's always been a very creative soul. Now she spends her time in ways that feed her soul. She's a well-known artist. She writes poetry. She writes song lyrics. She develops the melodies for her songs. And, of course, she sings. Her musical talents are aided and abetted by her formidable accompanist and musical collaborator, Joe Holt. Together, they are planning a great evening for you in Oxford on Thursday, June 7th. Barbara, you've been a resident of Kent County for 3 decades now. What brings you down to Talbot County to the Oxford Community Center?
I was looking, frankly, for gigs, and I contacted Al Sykes, who I know is very much involved in the music scene in Talbot County, and asked him if he had any recommendations for me for venues, and he graciously sent my email on to the Oxford Community Center, and they called me. It was awesome.
The other person who will be with you is your accompanist, Joe Holt, who's a wonderful accompanist and your musical collaborator. Tell me a little bit about how you and Joe work to get a finished song.
I present Joe with something. It could be just a snippet, it could be a completed piece, and he evaluates it really rapidly because the man has a musical vocabulary that doesn't quit. So he will listen to it and he will offer advice as to which direction it needs to go, and then he will orchestrate it. It's awesome, and I'm so fortunate.
Do you have a planned program for the Oxford Community Center event, or are you going to wing it?
We do have a set list, but it's a 20 songs, and depending upon how people are responding to those songs, or we may not sing them in the order that we think we are. It's pretty flexible.
Will this be a combination of songs you've written and songs written by others, or will this strictly be all of your songs?
These are all mine. Joe is really wonderful in encouraging me to perform my own music.
Tell me about some of the songs that you will be singing at the community center.
Well, I have a number of songs now that I've got a couple of CDs out, and I have a number of songs that are requested frequently. So Sanctuary, Blackbird, Don't Mess With Me, Little Out of Focus. These are songs that are easy to incorporate.
And there's my request, Dragon of the Chesapeake.
Dragon of the Chesapeake, absolutely. That is, I think, very relatable on the Eastern Shore.
Barbara, this is a duo act, you and Joe Holt. Will Joe be doing any solo performances?
Yes, much to the delight of the audience, because when Joe takes off with jazz improv on that piano, it's a sight to see, and it is just a musical experience. Like I want to sit in the audience and listen to it. So we've planned in a couple of those flights of fancy for him. His skills are so wide-ranging and amazing that anything can happen, and I'm really looking forward to that.
But Joe, as wide-ranging as his skills are, he does have a specific love of jazz.
Oh yes, he is a jazz improv pianist like few. Very, very good. I'm just so fortunate to be working with him.
Improv just scares me to death because it has to have, I would think, a high degree of creativity, but that has to be paired with some kind of discipline.
He has enormous discipline. I mean, you cannot expect to talk to the man until he's had a chance to put his hands on the keyboard in the morning, because this is how he comes into the world. I come in with coffee. He comes in with piano, practices endless hours he plays, and he has such a wide-ranging musical vocabulary, and his lexicon is just so amazing. He does these marvelous mashups. You know exactly what he's playing, but you'll get this little earful of something wonderful. It's like little gifts, and I'm just, again, in awe of the man.
What inspired the first songs that you ever wrote, and what inspired the very first song you wrote in sort of the modern era of your works?
Well, I've been writing songs since I was a teenager, and of course teenage angst is a great motivator for writing poetry and music. And the first song from that time, I cannot begin to tell you, but more recently, since I picked up music again and started writing again seriously, it was my husband's cancer diagnosis. It's a song called Long Time Coming, and it will be performed at the show.
Barbara, what else would you like the audience to know about this performance, about your songs, your music, how you work with Joe, what the future is going to be?
I think this performance is going to be a lot of fun. Joe is very playful as an accompanist. He takes me and my music in unexpected places during performance, which is a lot of fun. And because we have been working together long enough, we have developed a rapport that translates on stage, and we're getting ready to do our third project, or my third project, certainly my second with Joe. Once Brazilian guitarist Camilo Carrara arrives from Sao Paulo, he's an amazing classical guitarist who's going to work with Joe as a jazz pianist and me as a singer-songwriter and him. But so the three of us are going to do this project together. And Joe is the musical director. I mean, he's going to do the orchestration, and he'll help me pull this whole thing together, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, I know everybody in Oxford is looking forward to this, and it should be an absolutely great night of music, and with you and Joe, music and merriment.
Well, the fun thing about working with Joe is that we have developed this duo act that even when Camilo goes away again, we hope to develop even further. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I know you won't want to miss Barbara Parker and Joe Holt's performance at the Oxford Community Center on Thursday, June 7th at 7 p.m. Tickets are $15 per person and can be purchased from the Oxford Community Center website. That's oxfordcc.org. You will see the information about Barbara's performance on the homepage. Scroll down and click the link that says For Tickets. That will take you to the ticket purchase page. Get your tickets soon. You won't want to miss Barbara Parker and Joe Holt at their very special cabaret evening in Oxford. And if you want to hear more of Barbara and Joe, catch them at the Mainstay in Rock Hall on Friday, June 22nd, when they will be joined by the fabulous classical guitarist Camilo Carrara. I'm Muffin Whitney. Here's to good friends and good music.